Welcome to Sudowrite for Beginners. I'm Nicole. This is day 4. Due to some technical issues, meaning my power went out yesterday and the computer stopped working, we will actually be covering briefly getting an outline generated with the types of instructions and prompting that I like to use before we dive into today's main focus. And today's main focuses will be on generating scenes, which are new to Sudowrite, formerly beats, they're now scenes. We're going to look at refining the output that gives us and writing with both chapter generator, which is now called draft, and the write feature. So I'm going to show you a couple of different ways to write with Sudowrite. Right, I have handed out our document right here. As always, you can follow along with the homework that is given each day just to help you get more comfortable with everything. And there's usually some little notes here on the side. And I am joined by my lovely co-host again this week, Lusalia and Gianna. Huge thanks for stepping in yesterday when the storm decided to come through. All right, so yesterday we were covering world building, was able to get through the world building, and then we were going to cover outline. Unfortunately, my power went out right as I was about to start that. So I know Gianna and Lusalia showed y'all some things there, but I wanted to show you how I like to generate my outline. All right, so there is the drop down, this arrow right here by generate novel outline. And you could select from different ones. Novel outline used to be my go-to. Now we have custom outline and it is amazing. Thank you so much, Harper, for getting this out to us. So what's amazing about this box is I've tested it by copying in my brain dump 3 times and adding instructions, and it worked great. My brain dump was maxed out. That means this box can for sure hold 6,000 words. So think about that for a moment. Our synopsis is limited to 800 words. I don't think it shows, does it? Yeah, it's limited to 800 words. So if you have a story and you know you want 45 chapters, 800 words doesn't really fill that in, right? I've done plenty of experimenting with this, and typically this 800 words is enough for like 20, 25 chapters. If you want more, it needs more story information. But they were having trouble with making this particular box bigger and still work with a lot of the LLMs. And the solution came about when Harper suggested an instructions type box right here. So this works great because this outline is using 3.5 Sonnet, I believe. They may have upgraded that with 3.7. I don't know yet. I need to find that out. So now if you want that 45, 55 chapter story, you can instruct it here. I can tell it, create 45 chapters. This prompt also works in genre box, but you could just put it here, create 45 chapters along with whatever other story information you have. So if you have a document with 3,500 words of your story stuff, you can paste that content here. And if you look at this right here, so generate custom outline, it's this working the same as all of those other outlines, but it includes your instructions. But this part works the same as all of the other outlines. That means it is still seeing your synopsis, y'all. So not only can you put, say, 6,000 words in that instructions box, you still have those 800 words of synopsis. Maybe you just want to put some character descriptions there, some magical system stuff, world building, whatever you want. I just want to point that out. You have that 800 word synopsis in conjunction with the instructions you put in that box. And of course, it sees the genre, world building, and characters. As a reminder, if you scroll down, there is this image that shows everything, what everything feeds into. And I'm going to go over this again because I know a couple of people said this is one of their first classes. There's this little note, if empty defers to brain dump, that only applies to characters and world building, does not apply to outline. Outline is looking at synopsis. If synopsis is empty, it does not look at brain dump. It's like, oh, okay, nothing there. That's it. Characters and world building will look at synopsis. If synopsis is empty, they will look at brain dump. That's it. Replace the word beats with scenes, chapter generator with draft. That's what we're going to be covering today. So hopefully we'll get a new image updated for y'all soon. All right, so there's some information, and I'm sure they went over this yesterday, but if not, I honestly don't use a lot of these, but these are little things that you can do within the outline we're going to look at really quick. We're not going to mess with too much of that and take up the time. All right, so in the instructions box, the custom instructions for that outline, this one right here is my go-to formatting. I love to have my stuff formatted this way. However, I will say scenes are new. They just came out last Thursday, I believe, Wednesday or Thursday, they just came out. So you see this, I liked my chapter summaries very thin because when I put a lot of details, they did not get carried over into beats. I was doing double the work, adding in all of the details in my chapter summary, having to turn around, add them all again in the beats. So I kept them thin, simple, and I would add in all my details in the beats box. With scenes, I find they're pulling in a little bit more detail. So I still need to, I'm just telling you this as a heads up if this doesn't work for you. I do need to adjust. I think there needs to be some experimenting with finding that new level of just enough scene detail in the chapter summary versus what's going to be too much and it's not going to carry it over into scenes. So if you play with this, keep that in mind. And you'll notice this prompt in particular, I write a lot of enemies to lovers, so I have a prompt telling it to highlight their relationship arc and showing the different stages. These are the amazing things that you can do with this new outline. Let me get that to the center so y'all can read it better. This is the type of stuff you can do with the outline, y'all. Your options are pretty much unlimited. If you know you want to follow the save the cat method, put that in your instructions box. If you've created your own outline template, like I worked with chat and created my own dark romance outline template, I can just pop that into the custom instructions box and it will generate in that format for me. If you can think of it, if you can word it and give that to the AI, it can probably do it for you. Another thing I also like to do is tell it to include 2 subplots and of course mark them so I can point them out and adjust as needed. This is something I used to do inside Canvas, inside Sudowrite. If you've watched that video on my YouTube or attended that class, you know I used to generate 3 different outlines inside Canvas, then manually merge them. Also, I could do these 2 things right here, make my relationship and make my subplots. Now with the new outline, I no longer need to do it. I can just put all of it in a single prompt and use that. So this is my normal go-to, the custom instructions prompt. I am actually going to use the scene and sequel one today. This is one, and if you go to that scenes one, you'll see a slightly modified version of it. This one so far is working really well for me for scenes. That's why I'm saying I need to adjust things. It may be that I combine this prompt with those things that I like from my other prompts, such as the relationship arc and subplots, things like that. Play around with them, find what suits your needs. I am just going to give it that. And you know what? Let me look. How big was our brain dump? Why not? I'm going to go ahead and copy it all in there. And the good thing about it is if you forgot to grab something, guess what? What you put in there is saved. So I'm just going to pop that information in. So now it has my brain dump and all of those instructions right there. Just scrolling so you can kind of see it did grab it all. Use custom outline and I'm going to generate. While that's generating, I will show you the little modification. So this is the one that I just put in there. And basically I'm telling it that each chapter will alternate between scene and sequel. So chapter 1 will be a scene, chapter 2 will be a sequel. In that document that I linked here from the scenes class, I modified it so that the scene and sequels, it's actually generating 4 per chapter now with this prompt right here, not the one that I'm about to show y'all. So you might want to play with this one too. And I'm only telling y'all this so y'all have options. If you're not happy with the outline, just know that you can give it instructions and start tailoring it, customizing it, making it exactly what you want and making it do exactly what you want. So in this one, I'm telling it generate 4 per chapter. So it's going to have 2 scenes and 2 sequels inside each chapter. There's also a follow-up prompt with this. And this is kicking butt. And I did try to combine them, added this to the original prompt, make it just a one-shot thing. It did not work as well. But when I generate my outline with that original scene and sequel, and then tell it to rewrite with this, I'm loving what it gives me. Again, just trying to give y'all some options there. All right, so it did generate, and I know you're always curious about credits, so just under 6,000 credits. Not bad at all. And you can see it gave me my day and time that I asked for, the setting and location. And you see up here, this is a scene, this is a sequel, and it keeps alternating through that. Right, so play around with it, see what kind of instructions you can give. I also note, let me see if it's in here. No, it is not. So it's in the scenes class. All right, we're going to get to that next. All right, let's find a good chapter that has some action so we can start generating scenes and writing some prose. Story opens with an attack on New York City. Okay, I'm going to generate that one. Looks good to me. Keep in mind, I've left my genre and my style empty. I did that for a reason. So just so y'all know that. So you have 2 options to generate that chapter. One, I can click these 3 dots and I can click for it to create. And of course I can rewrite all those little things I pointed out under the outline things where you can rewrite, fill in, all of those things. So I can rewrite this chapter there or here. If it was empty, if I added a chapter, you can drop down right here, decide where you want to add that chapter. So if I add a chapter here, I can click to fill this in and it is going to see what the rest of this is. Or I can prompt it with something. For whatever reason, I wanted a prologue with featuring just the aliens deciding to invade or leaving their world or something like that. I could click fill this in and tell it to do that right here. I am going to actually delete that though. Right, so here you can create a chapter. My go-to is just click the new and the chapter that I want right here in the drop down. Oh, and this did not update, my bad. Okay, so you still have to update right now in new projects. And this is on a project by project basis, meaning I'm going to go ahead and update because this does take a bit. And of course it wanted to make a liar out of me. So this is a project by project basis, meaning I updated this one to scenes. So you see how this looks, right? Draft, scenes. Let me go to this is an old one that has not been updated. So you see it still says chapter generator and it still has beats here. So just because you update one project doesn't mean they all get updated, okay? Now, come March 31st, everything will be updated to scenes. So if you have one you're working in, you really want to keep working with beats, get that finished up. So you see the chapter summary that I chose right here, and I can generate. So I'm going to click that generate scenes button, and it is going to generate scenes. So if you've used Sudowrite before, you're used to the generating beats button, that's essentially it. It does take a little bit longer to generate the scenes though. And just like with beats, me go to this one. So just like with beats, if you watch any of my old beats classes, I talk about how I like to put instructions in my chapter summary. So in the actual outline box for each chapter, I like to put different types of instructions. And I gave an example here. This works great. So if you find the scenes just aren't nailing it, something is coming wrong, they're not focusing on what you want to focus on, they're not generating enough, you can actually tell it, guide it here. So I would copy this into my outline box for that chapter that I'm about to generate, in this case, chapter 1. I would put those instructions there, and then when it generates the scenes, it is going to look at those instructions, see what I've told it to focus on, and it will do that in the scenes. This is awfully big. Is it like too big for anybody else?
I noticed that the font is larger now once you upgrade to scenes.
Oh, okay.
It's a thing.
That looks fine. Looks fine.
Okay, good deal.
It looks good though.
If you ask for 4 per chapter but do not have enough meat in the synopsis, will it repeat stuff? That would be the, if you know you for sure want 4 per chapter, I would put like the brain dump or extra story information in your scenes right there so it doesn't repeat. And like was stated, it can't invent a lot. So I did find that's the experimental part, and I'm in editing phase, so I haven't had much time to play with this. That's the experimental part for me. So I can see in my other stories that I know very well what I want to happen, where it added in some details I didn't want. But again, I can go look at my chapter summary, see that was very sparse. So I have to find that balance now that works for me. That's something you're always going to have to keep in mind working with AI and any program really as it updates. You now have to figure out what changed and adjust your workflow sometimes, okay? So it generated 2 scenes for us. And she's standing before the large window. Shattered glass clings to her frame. I'm gonna get rid of that. I don't like that. Always adjust, okay? It is nothing, I've said this before, it is nothing for me to spend about 30 minutes or more in each box, starting with brain dump. Nothing for me to spend 2 hours between brain dump and synopsis. You always go through, start adjusting. If you don't like the wording, you change it. If you're writing horror or sexual content, it isn't using the words or descriptive phrases that you like. You'll know what I mean, like the vulgar wording, things like that. Put those words in yourself in the scenes. So if it's, I'm trying to avoid triggering YouTube here. So if it's listing body parts by the anatomically correct term, or, doing the purple prose phrases that most spicy readers don't like, and you don't want that, you want the crude language, put that in there yourself, switch out those words. Otherwise, it is kind of going to snowball. Shoot. I don't like this. Yeah, I'm going to delete this. And I'm pretty sure it's going to tell me this one is too thin. So it's another reason I'm kind of going through here. One of the main issues with beats was people didn't know how thin or thick to make them, what was too little, what was too much. And you're going to see scenes will actually tell you. Let's see. It seems to be trying to combine so much stuff, basically just to make her be doing something. Oh, looks like I might need that back to fit this. Okay, I'm going to keep that there. But I actually don't like it. So you know what I'm going to do? Let's experiment together here while we use my credits. There we go. So very sparse, right? Extra instructions right here. This box can be what was formerly a beat header. So in that scenes document that is linked to y'all, where it says popular instructions, just scroll down, formerly beat headers. There are some options for you to use, completely optional. So this is my old beat header, very simple, but worked pretty well. Have one from Stacy right here that works great. I have tried this out. Harper's. And then there's like a mega one right here. I'm actually going to grab this one. So your extra instructions can be additional style guidance. Maybe you want to recap previously. It holds 2,000 words, so it can hold a good bit. Maybe you kind of want a story up to this point, story brief, something along those lines. This is very versatile. So I have my extra instructions in there now. I have what I want to happen in this scene. I'm going to pick my model. So I click that drop down arrow. It says generate that arrow. I'm going to click it, find the model I want. So I can use Muse. Muse releases tomorrow, correct, co-host? Or Stacy?
Yes, it does.
Yay, thank you. So if y'all don't know anything about Muse or haven't heard about Muse yet, this is Sudowrite's model. There are classes. I'm going to link the thing. There are 3 classes happening with Muse, and trust me, you will want to attend them, okay? Muse is a different beast to work with. So click that link. You're going to see tomorrow, Ryan, one from the team, is going to host a session. He's a great one to attend and ask some technical questions too. Stacy and Harper will be hosting a session. Look for these little emblems. Stacy and Harper will be hosting a session, as will John Creason. So it's Sudowrite's model, and it's made just for fiction. So they trained this model hard and went through a lot of reiterations in it. And the goal of it was to just end up with something that needed less editing. You'll notice you don't have all of the AI-isms, all of the cliche phrasing. That's the great thing about Muse. But like I said, it's a little tricky to work with. So please attend those classes. Muse is also one that has the creativity setting right here. Okay, so you will be able to adjust that whenever you use Muse. You can't do that with other models. Going up to 11, unless something has changed, this is actually using Muse 1, which I loved Muse 1's prose output. Do not expect it to follow your story. It will generate a lot of words at once. We're talking 6,000, 8,000. However, only that first third of it is going to stick with your story, and then it's going to start making stuff up because, hey, it's writing all of these words. And this one, of course, is going to stick with everything very reliably. So please go to those classes. The others that have played with it more will be able to give you a lot more tips and everything. So if you want to use Muse, we can use Muse. Of course, you have Excellent. This one is costly, the most costly, except for Muse. I haven't heard anything. If y'all have anything, experienced users, if y'all have anything to add on the cost comparison between Muse and Excellent, love to hear that. And if you look at all of these, click them, you see all these boxes. So it tells you what they're good for. This gives good prose quality, does a great job of following instructions. It's unfiltered for the most part, tells you what the base model of it is using. It's good for multilingual support, and it gives you an approximate credit usage, or at least how expensive. Same thing with basic, it'll go through. So you see basic costs very little. And you can click the advanced and go through and access one directly. I actually like 4.0. That's been my go-to for a while now. So I'm just going to click it, use GPT 4.0. Another reason I want to do this one first, I know from using beats that GPT 4.0 loves thick beats. So I'm guessing it will definitely have an issue with as little as this is. So when you click this, it's not actually going to start generating prose. Instead, it is looking at everything and going to start analyzing your scenes. All right, Here we go. Okay, scenes are not consistently written in past tense as required. I'm actually going to print this so I can report it as a bug. So remember that report a bug, question mark up here at the top right, and you're going to want to do this anytime something's off. Maybe you click generate prose, it didn't generate prose, or it generated 3 sentences and stopped on you. Whatever, just, hey, this doesn't seem to be working right, click that question mark, click report a bug, and I'm going to tell it state scenes need to be in past tense. And I'm just telling it this so they can look at some instruction in the background. And I'm telling it I did not specify past tense. So just so they can see, okay, no, that is actually working as intended, or if they can say, okay, yeah, this needs to be fixed. And I'm going to attach that screenshot so they see what I'm talking about. Very easy. Again, if you can attach a screenshot or a short video, it helps them immensely. Now, since I didn't specify past tense, I can just choose to go. I don't have to fix this, but I am going to fix this. And I'm really curious why it did not tell me. So it says it's rewriting them. There we go. So it rewrote them. But I'm curious why it didn't say that there was not enough information in the. Right. All right, there we go. Would have been nice if that came up together. But okay, expand scene 2. So y'all see here how it's guiding you. And with it guiding you, you can start to see, oh, okay, I know I need to do this. So if you wrote out your scenes yourself, which you can definitely do, you don't have to have it generate the scenes. You can start saying, okay, this is how I need to write my scenes. So it's really going to help you with doing everything. Let me just go ahead and see if it'll generate now this time. All right, great job. Thank you very much. Now this is just one way. So again, if you hear somebody say Beats box, that was the predecessor, whatever that word is, before scenes. Scenes is replacing beats. And if you hear somebody mention draft, for this box anyways, this was formerly chapter generator. So you may hear those terms used interchangeably for a while everybody gets used to the new wording. Are there any questions while we wait? And for the recording, a commenter said, I haven't seen any issues with having my scenes written in present tense, as we're used to doing with Beast. Despite the warning, the prose still generates in past tense, so that's good to know. All right, so this was GPT 4.0. Again, 0 style guidance. Not liking it at all. And that is why I always say style is so important. I know I love GPT 4.0 normally. This doesn't impress me in the least little bit. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and pause it. Now, this is just one way to work in Sudowrite. And I am going to show you a second, but y'all keep in mind, it's why I always say go attend other teachers' classes. There are so many ways to work within Sudowrite. You have here inside the chapter generator or draft box. You have the write features, which we're going to look at next, auto write and guided write. You have people that use plugins to write. There's so many things you can do. You can use first draft and then use the laser tools to refine the output. And of course, the manual writing and just use Sudowrite more as an editor as you go. So I'm going to do a new chapter 1. And I don't need this box because I'm going to the write features, auto and guided write. They do not use scenes. They do see the linked chapter summary. So I can close that box out. And you see up here, it still says outline link chapter 1. If I'm like, oh, wait, I meant to do chapter 2, I can actually click update and go to chapter 2, and that is now linked. And if I open my box up, you see chapter 2 right here. So it does see whatever is linked. Go back to chapter 1. I had GPT-4o selected in the draft box, and you see here, Goliath is selected. Keep in mind, there are 2 different places to select your prose model. What I select here does not affect any of these. What I selected in that box where I selected 4o does not affect my auto and guided write, and vice versa. What I select here, Goliath, does not affect me generating from this box. Okay, they are 2 separate features where you control which model is used. And as of right now, you cannot change the model for your laser tools and things like that. So I'm going to select Muse. You could select the number of chords that you want. So remember, whenever we use auto or guided write, things are going to pop up on the side. Our rewrite, things are going to pop up on the side. So I'm going to select, I really just want, let's do 2 chords just for comparison. And you can select how big those chords are. So how many words get output. With Muse, I found it was better to do somewhere between 150 and 250. Somebody else, please chime in if you found different. So I'm just going to go ahead and select 200 words for that. Creativity, let's stick it in the middle right here. Something that was also noted by John Creason when it comes to the write settings. I can't vouch for this working the same with Muse, but with all of the other models, in addition to most creativity going to invent some ideas and go off the rails possibly, and at least sticking with your story, they also act as gas pedals as he referred to it. So if I have it at most, it's going to fly through that chapter summary right here. Let's just pretend I had, like 3 paragraphs. Its goal is to write it, so it's going to fly through that chapter summary when it's on most. However, on least, it will slow it down. I found, again, at least with the other models, having it on least, I would need to generate 2 to 3 times for it to go through the scene, which worked out great. That was what I wanted. So keep that in mind too whenever you select this. I'm going to put it in the middle. You have a key details box here. This key details. So when you're using auto write, you could put some additional information. I like using this for transition scenes. So my characters are here. This just happened. They need to get to this point, or they need to do this. It just kind of helps fill in the gaps of previous and what needs to happen next. And it will write a transition scene for me. You can also use this to reference like world building cards or anything like that. If you use Stacy's method of having a prose guide and a world building card, and that's what you're calling it, I could reference it here. If you're using Melody's thing for chapter glue and you've called it that in the world building, I can reference chapter glue here. So lots of things for you to use here. You can also have it for your style guidance, POV, whatever you want. I've even given it instructions before. I would have to find it, but it was something like write the story beats for this scene. Worked great. Didn't write beats, but it actually wrote prose, and for whatever reason worked great. All right, so all of our settings are up. I have the creativity, number of cards, number of words, the model I'm going to use. I don't want anything in key details. Actually, you know what? I do. I'm going to make sure this opens up the scene the way I want it. Yes, all of this information is already in the chapter summary, but I really wanted to focus on this. So set the scene with Ava seeing the alien invasion, trying to reach her daughter once on the phone, and finally deciding to leave the building to find her daughter. And let's see, I'm just gonna say to find her daughter. And then I'm gonna say highlight her internal thought process. Now I'm gonna use Auto-Write for that. For Auto-Write, I could have started typing out this scene myself, or I could just select Auto and click the write. So it's gonna pop up right here. This method here with these write features with Auto and Guided Write, if you're the type of person you want to write the majority of your stuff, you only want AI's help on occasion, I think this is the method you're going to prefer. It's a very relaxing way to work, okay? You're on a roll, the scene's coming to you, you can be typing it all out. You get it stuck, you can work with Quick Chat, you can work with Auto-Write or Guided Write, whatever you need to get unstuck, and then just go back to writing manually. All right, so it gave us our 2 cards. Expand it a little bit more for y'all to see. Oops, sorry. I was trying to blow it up for y'all. Okay, she stood by her window, phone clasped in clammy hands. And now remember too, Auto and Guided Write C style and genre, and I still have those empty. So this was Muse. So basically what you're seeing now is just Muse, not me guiding it in any kind of way. Wasn't her daughter named Lily? Yes, her daughter's name is Lily. Remember when we said Muse is a different beast? Yeah, so I'm actually going to, I'll save it. I won't report it here, make y'all wait. But I am going to actually report that. I'm going to do the thumbs down. Sometimes, yeah, it won't. Sometimes it'll let us do a little feedback right there. And then the second card. And now her daughter's name is Olivia. All right. I like this line. That's good. So what do y'all think about Muse's prose compared to 4.0? Much better, right? With no guidance and everything. All right, and I can either insert, I like the second ending of that second one, so I'm just going to grab it. So I can insert it here. And you see it's got that purple text. That means it's unedited. As soon as I go to edit, it's going to turn white. I can put my cursor here. Again, I can start manually typing something. I can continue again, click this button and have Auto-Write keep continuing. Let's see, she was in her house, right? Yep, her apartment, okay. I can go to Guided Write now. This is useful for whenever you know what you want to happen, you just need to guide it there. You don't know how you want that scene to come out, so you can give it some guidance. Going to see how it, because she's actually always, she's leaving her apartment right here. So have Ava leave her apartment to go find her daughter. And click go. Now with these cards that were generated too, I don't have to use all of them. I could say, oh, I like this opening, or I like the opening from the other one better. I like the line of dialogue right here. Start mixing and matching. All right. So outside in the hallway. Oh, that's right. She's in an apartment. Open that up for y'all. Not bad. I don't care for that paragraph, but this one was better. Let's see. Outside in the streets, chaos reigned. So this is a prime example. I like this opening better, but I like the other paragraphs, but however, they don't fit. So what I could do I'm going to put that here. And we're about to test the smarts of Quick Edit.
Nicole,
Yes, ma'am.
before you use Quick Edit, could you please show us the credit cost?
Mm-hmm. Let me zoom out again so y'all can see it in full. All right, so the guided write was 2,500 with Muse, 1,500 auto write with Muse, and then our draft from that chapter generator was 4,000 with 4.0. Now
Thank
our
you.
Muse, you're welcome. Thank you very much for bringing it up. So each of these were 200. What did our chapter generator give us for that cost? 591 words, because I had paused it. That doesn't seem right. Oh, looks like way more than 500. Okay, so all I did was I combined a couple of portions of cards, but if you see, they're kind of out of order. So she's outside in the street right here. And then here she's in the stairwell of her apartment, and then she burst out into the street. So I'm going to highlight this, click Quick Edit. And again, for Quick Edit, just like Quick Chat, you can leave this grayed out. It's going to be free. If you turn it on, it's going to use credits. Using credits uses Muse. Off uses 3.5, GPT 3.5. So let's compare the two. Rewrite this scene to flow smoothly from Ava. I am going to break it down into steps just to give it a better chance of getting it right of what I want to do. Entering the stairwell of our apartment. To this real quick to make sure I use the same. All right, so we're on the free version. Let's see how it's going to do. So you see it's going to mark these out and rewrite. I don't like it. It did the job, but it took out too many details. So I'm going to click reject right here. It's going to get rid of that. I'll do Quick Edit again, and this time I'm going to do on Muse, the higher quality. Let's see how it does. So it did better. Still not what I'm wanting. This is a classic case of, you know what? It would just save me time to make those little adjustments, move those wordings wherever they're needed instead of fighting the AI. But this one isn't bad with Muse. It just still doesn't have the details. It still seems like it took out a little something that I liked from the others. But I could go ahead and accept it. Something you can do. So when I click accept, it is going to remove all of this highlighted text here, this red text. It's going to remove that and replace it with this. Let's say you don't want that. You're like, no, I liked what it gave me, but I still need something from the original. Instead, I could highlight this copy it, clicked reject, and then paste what I copied from it right there. So now I can manually combine these. Alternatively, yes, ma'am.
Just
Stacy?
one word that I've noticed that makes a huge difference is including rearrange. So rewrite and rearrange. Yeah, the scene to flow smoothly. And you could also put and remove inconsistencies.
Okay. Another thing you could do, because as I mentioned, I actually do like all of this wording. What I can do is similar to what I would do in outline rewrite. If I like what is there, I could also tell it to keep all of the details. Now, this two are going to kind of contradict each other, asking it to keep them all and to rewrite. So you need to decide. So I can say, keep all of the details, but rearrange the scene to flow smoothly from Ava entering the stairwell to being outside on the street. See how that works. And I'm doing this really just so I can show y'all the next step. That one worked much better. So that rearrange, I think, was the key. Yeah, I like that. So I can click accept. So this worked great for my little demonstration. So again, if I click accept, it's going to get rid of that red, right? Click accept, got rid of it. And I'm like, oh, dang, this didn't keep that one sentence that I like, maybe a line of dialogue or something. Go up here to your history. So you have that linked box, typewriter icon that makes that box appear, disappear, and you have the document history right here. So I can actually come through and, well, it didn't save it. Good to know, because that will be another bug right there to report. But typically it does save it. So it would have that little portion that I put in Quick Edit, provided it was there long enough for the system to autosave, and I could actually restore or just copy that portion that I wanted. So that's a little tip for y'all. But yeah, I like the rearrange. Thank you very much, Stacy. That worked great. All right, let me see. Did I cover everything for today? We went over the outline to catch up from yesterday. These are those little things that I was talking about. Read these so you can see what all other things you could do with it. And we generated our scenes. We worked with auto and guided write and the chapter generator. So starting tomorrow is one of my favorites. We're going to look at style and genre and how to get the AI to start writing the way you want it to write. But if you're doing the homework, it is to experiment with scenes. If you kind of want to jump ahead, I recommend running, if it just gave you like one or two scenes, running that. If it gave you 4 or 6 scenes and you don't want to use those credits, delete some or make a new document, something with just 1 or 2 scenes in it. And then run each model with a minimal or empty style box so you can see each model's base output and how it does for you. But mainly play around with using auto write and guided write versus the chapter generator draft box right here, okay? So in one, you're going to be generating scenes using this drop down, selecting your model. The other, you're going to select your model here and play around with using auto and guided write. So remember, auto is more, you can start the scene. You have no clue how you want to start it. I can just put my cursor there, click it, or here after, I can just click auto again, and it's going to continue. Auto does not need guidance, does not even have a spot for you to put guidance except key details. Guided write, however, They recently updated it. You could put 600 words. Somebody correct me if I said that wrong, if it's supposed to be 600 characters, but I think it's 600 words. You could put 600 words here now to guide it, which is huge. I think you would be surprised how many people prefer auto and guided write over the chapter generators and everything. And keep in mind, oh, something a line caught here. I like that. I'm going to insert that one. What was I saying? Sorry, ADHD kicked in, y'all. Oh, so keep in mind too, these do see your story Bible. So your auto and guided write, as long as this is toggled on, if I have the story Bible toggled off, it doesn't see anything. But toggled on, I could still fill out my genre, my style, my characters and world building. I don't need to do my synopsis. I can do my outline because it'll have that linked chapter summary. So auto and guided write still pretty much see everything here. The difference is you have more control over how you write. And again, if you're one that likes to write the majority of your scenes, I think you're really going to love working with those two features. All right, I am going to hang around to answer questions, do any experimenting that anybody wants to do. But for the sake of the recording, thank you all for hanging out with me today. And I will see you tomorrow for style and genre. Bye, everyone.